Hi, everybody, and welcome to our first lesson in Fusion 360. I am Mr. Rime, as you all know by now, but just in case you forgot my name, as it is hard to pronounce, that's what it is. So, today I'm going to be going over some steps with Fusion 360, as well as we're just going to do a very basic overview as to the layout of Fusion 360 as well as some of its features. Okay, now Fusion 360 is what we call a CAD software, CAD, computer aided design. Some people call it computer aided drafting, computer assisted design. The acronym has kind of changed now and again, but in general, I just say computer aided design. So essentially, what this is this program helps us create three-dimensional objects in the computer that we can then 3D print. We can laser cut stuff. We can do simulations. If we want to like build something out of wood, we can render it in a computer environment first to see how it might look. So you can figure out all the math ahead of time. So that way, when you go to cut something out, you know all your measurements are perfect and that it's going to fit together. Okay. So Fusion 360, I'm just going to go back to my desktop here for a second. And your computers are going to have a lot less stuff. I have a bunch of junk on mine because I'm disorganized. But in general, the thing you're going to look for is the orange F button. This is Fusion 360 right here. And this is what we're going to use. Now, this is a program that's been installed on all the computers, but there is another option if you wish to do stuff at home. There is an option to do that. Now, if you're working on a project in school and you want to be able to make edits at home, like if it's the night before the due date and you really just want to make some final adjustments, there is a way to do that. If you go to this address, fusion.online.autodesk.com, Autodesk is the company that makes this software. But if you ever want to do something at home on your Chromebooks, you can use this website and you just go to Launch Fusion 360. I'll post this link on both my website and the Google Classroom page, so you have access to this at all times. So there's no excuse to not get something done. Um, but the browser version is kind of laggy because essentially instead of doing all the processing on our computer where there's no delay, it's essentially sending data to Autodesk servers. They are processing it for us and then it's getting sent back. So it is a little laggy, but it's a good backup option if you need it. So again, if you want to use this to get caught up, it's a great option. But for all of my demo stuff, we are going to be doing here in the physical program that's downloaded onto the computer. Now, Fusion 360 is great because it works a lot like Google Drive. All of your data, all of your projects, and all of your files, they get stored on the cloud. So you can access them through any device at any time. Like I said, through the web address. You can also download Fusion if you have like a gaming PC or like a high end computer. You don't need one. You can also do it on a lower end computer. It just tends to run a little bit slower and a little bit more laggy. But it is possible. You, as students, have access to download this. And if you want to know more about that, if you want to learn how to download this at home, just let me know and I can get you set up with that. So by now, when you go to open Fusion, you'll see a login screen first. I'm already logged in. That's why my screen looks different. But at the beginning of the year, you should all be set up with Fusion accounts. I'm going to set you up with Fusion accounts, and you are going to probably get an email from Autodesk to set up your account. So once you get that all set up, hopefully we do that ahead of time. We'll be good to rock and roll. Make sure to write down your passwords. I cannot tell you the amount of students that forget their password and then lose all their work. So please don't do that. All right. So, like I said, this works a lot like Google Drive. This up here in the top left corner, this grid right here, this is called the data panel. The data panel is where all of our files are stored. And there are different teams. A team is essentially where your data gets stored. Okay, I'm in a team called We May because that's my name, and this is where all my files are stored. If you want to create a joint team with another person to share projects and stuff like that, you can do that. The functions aren't great, it's a little finicky, but if you want to work together with someone, that's a good option so you guys can simultaneously edit files and keep them in the same space, which I can show you how to do that if you are interested. But you can also, if you're working on a team, you can just design things separately and print them separately. That kind of works. So, all right, in your team, you will see a bunch of projects. Projects are essentially folders that you create. The first one you'll see is called admin project. This is created by default, and you can use this if you want to create something that you don't want anybody else working on. Because if you create a joint team, um, or if you invite someone onto your team, they can't access your admin project. These are files that only you and you alone can edit or change, create, or destroy. So admin project is good. I keep stuff in here that I think is really important and I don't really want to lose it. But in general, the way we're going to do this is every time we start a new project for class, what I'm going to want you to do is go to the new project button. Okay, so the assignment for this lesson, super difficult. No, I'm just kidding. It's not that bad. All you're going to do is you're going to press on new project and you're going to call it intro to Fusion hyphen and then your last name. And then hit enter to save it. This is going to create a new project. So we double click on there and you'll see nothing is in here. So this is where we can store all of our files for the upcoming project. So I'm going to give you all of you a very basic outline with steps. I'm going to make some tutorial videos on how to do stuff. So this is where all of your files get saved. So this is your first assignment. From home, you just click on new project. You're going to make a new project and call it Intro to Fusion and then your last name. And now whenever you, as long as you're in here, when you make a new file and you go to save it, always give it a name and make sure it's saved in the correct location. So do not leave things as untitled. This will make your life really, really, really difficult. We're going to do stuff later called assemblies where we take different objects and we put them together. And if all of your parts are labeled as untitled, it's going to make everything really messy. So I beg of you, when you make a new file, just give it a name. So I'm just going to call this file 1 and I'm going to save it. It's just a blank file, but if you can go ahead and do that now in your Intro to Fusion, your last name folder, just with a blank file, just hit the save button right here on the top left and name it file 1. That's the other thing, is that Fusion, unlike Google Drive, it does not automatically save. There are backups where if you accidentally exit the program or it freezes or it crashes, which is known to happen because our computers are a little old, it does not save automatically like Google Drive after every single edit. You have to manually hit the save button up here on the top left, or you can hit Control S, that's the keyboard shortcut. Save your work every 5 minutes. Every 5 minutes, okay, or at least every 10. But in general, I save my work every 5 minutes because as we progress through the year, your projects are going to get more and more complicated. And the more complicated they are, the more you have to lose in the event of a crash, okay? We don't want to rely on backup files or recovery files or anything like that, which do exist, but sometimes they've been known not to work. So save every 5 minutes. Okay, this is probably the most important button here, the save button. All right, so that's your assignment. New project, Intro to Fusion with your last name, and then inside that folder, just save a blank file and call it file 1. And that's going to be our intro lesson.